It's postseason time for the Area CNC Logging Truck Series, and with the regular season behind us, it's just 5 rounds that remain in the 2022 season. Southeastern Florida plays host to the first of those 5 rounds, and we head to Homestead Miami Speedway to kick things off. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer and Finian DeCuna bring into the 13th round of the 2022 season, the first of the final 5. Finian, the playoffs start tonight.
Yeah, every time the playoffs kick off, that's where everything gets so much more interesting. All the points get crunched back together, a lot tighter points gaps, and that's going to mean to a lot of action as guys are fighting tooth and nail over the next 5 weeks.
And we're trucking here tonight. You mean that fenders on each other and getting aggressive and racy? We saw that last night, the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series. Some fantastic racing in the next-gen car, but back down to the trucks tonight, and this is a fun combination. High, ripping around the walls here up at the high line, getting down to the bottom. We saw multi-groove racing last night. I expect to see more of the same here tonight. Homestead Miami Speedway, 1.5 miles here, Finian. 20 degrees of banking, but it's progressive from bottom to top. And, of course, we saw last night, it's very slippery at times as well.
Yeah, and like you said, with the multiple lines, because of that progressive banking, you're going to see quite a few guys. I'm even looking at practice right now. I see a bunch of guys ripping the top line, the Larson line around here, and we're going to be seeing that all night long. Guys fighting for the top lane, and even guys fighting for that bottom lane, and it's going to be interesting to see it once the night falls. Guys transitioning between both lanes to find some sort of speed.
Homestead Miami Speedway, constructed back in 1995, originally was shaped a lot more like Indianapolis, but that was changed in 2003. Now the track is kind of a standard oval shape here in Homestead, Miami, Florida. All right, well, with the cars on track and in their practice session, we'll take you back to last week and the cutoff for the playoffs. We'll be back with qualifying in just a few minutes.
Hallman will bring us to the green flag. Outside of him is Jacob Bell, and Jake's got quite a distance back to his teammates, which is kind of interesting. His teammates are way in the back, so.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Swan's almost out of reach right now, so. I would assume Ryan Hart would get up there fairly quick.
Yeah.
Jacob, no help at all. So. Oh, well, he tried. I know tomorrow. There it is.
That's,
there it goes.
Around the 55 goes.
That's going to leave a mark,
Adam
boys and
Capps
girls.
looks like by himself, though.
Yeah. It just.
While we were talking about that, we had a 2-car tandem of the number 77 and Ryan Hurst, the number 3 car. Whoa, and there comes the cross, and there's the big one happening behind Brad Slaughter.
What a mess that was.
It was big. We'll try to get there.
Earth? So,
I mean, these guys are pegging over 200 miles an hour. Oh, and there's another big one. Tandem spinning in the turn 1. Looked like Litzenberger was involved in that.
That's a new. How about the 9 coming from nowhere and suddenly up front?
They're going to put him in a sucker hole. There goes Slaughter.
Yep. And guess who he's pulling along?
Last night with 3 to go. Caution, we will go to overtime. Very interesting where that came. That's what I'm thinking. Like, oh, Nelly. Hold on, Brad.
Oh, no.
There's 3 wide behind the 3 of Ryan Hurst. 11 now going to the outside. Oh, contact.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
And that's going to be the yellow, and we're going to be finished here. And looks like Hartz is going to be the winner as everybody gets set up again here. But looks like Ryan Hartz will be declared the winner once everything is said and done. But
That's all I got.
That was last week, but on to the next, the playoffs here from Homestead Miami Speedway. Let's head down to the racetrack. Well, practice is still underway at the moment. Cameron Hearn right now, the top of the board of the CNC Logging number 67. Colors of the series on board that car, and currently at the top, but not a playoff competitor. One thing we saw a lot of last night in the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series, Finian, was the non-playoff drivers qualified very, very well, but it was the playoff drivers that rose to the top right at the tail end of the race and took the majority of the top 10 spots.
Yeah, it's one of those things you gotta look out for, and that's the great thing about this kind of format, right? It's because the playoff guys don't just have to worry about themselves; they got to worry about the non-playoff guys who are pretty much out there just for fun, right? Because they're not obviously they don't have a chance of winning the championship, but they're out there just trying to get race wins, so they still have something that they're fighting for, and these playoff guys have got to deal with that. But based off of practice, it looks like all the fast cars are most of the playoff drivers, so. Potentially that may be a non-issue, but qualifying, we've seen a lot of guys are good at qualifying, a lot of guys are not so good at qualifying, and then really, obviously, the race is where you get paid out most of the points.
Here's a look at Ryan Hartz in the number 3. We saw him last night as well, fighting for victory up inside the top 5. Didn't quite get there. Neither did Brad Slaughter Jr., had a real tough night, ended up nosing up into the barriers early in the race last night. He's a playoff competitor, though, and comes into the night very strongly in the point standings coming into the evening. I think he is either leading or second into the standings coming into this evening here, Finian. So in a really good spot. James Shainwolf in the number 31, runs 4th right now, another playoff competitor. Danny Ware in the number 18, the only other non-playoff competitor in the top 9. Throw, looks like Sean Mitchell in there as well. So only 3 of the top 10 non-playoff competitors.
Actually, just sort of small just got updated from one of the admins. Hearn is supposed to be in the he's not supposed to be. He is in the playoffs. It's just on the graphic. Seems to be a mistake.
Good to know. You're right. He was supposed to be in there.
Yep.
I wonder if that was.
I blame you.
Probably should. He was copying and pasting those driver IDs. All right. Well, either way, Cameron Hearn will get that sorted.
Yeah, at least you could tell by looking at his car, and I mean, it's kind of funny that he's the fastest one too.
It would be a real shame if the car with the series sponsor on the side of it wasn't running very well. That would certainly be a shame. But, we've seen Cameron run very, very well last night, and I think we'll see more of the same tonight. Sean Mitchell in the number 58, rolling off the pit lane right now. James Litzenberger in the number 12 is as well the Rackley Roofing Toyota Tundra. We'll reset back here. So 24 cars, 12 rows of cars here. And what we saw last night with the next-gen car, lots of 2 and 3 wide, but coming off the corner especially, lots of really loose cars. I don't think we're going to see that as much tonight. Those next-gen cars make their downforce and make their speed in a very different way. This is much more traditional stock car speed, a lot of mechanical grip, and just a little bit of aero. Last night, though, we saw a lot of cars, once they unstuck themselves from the racetrack by either getting loose or getting up onto the apron, it was a day over for them. They would overcorrect and nose into the barrier. So we'll see what the common issue is for accidents tonight. We didn't see a lot of multi-car accidents, and so many of the drivers from last night are running here tonight as well. So we should see a lot of the same kind of racing with the drivers similar to where they were the other night.
Yeah, I think adding to that point about it being a little bit more traditional, like a stock car, is that you can go, like you mentioned, because the next-gen car is so based on having downforce and relying on its aero. You just saw it right there. When these guys get sideways, obviously probably not that sideways, but when they're racing and the back end's hanging out a little bit more, you can kind of lean on that a little bit. You don't necessarily just have the car breaking loose traction. That's kind of more pretty much wrecking. Did a great job of saving it. I think he only tapped the wall, but what I'm trying to say is that these guys can hang the back end out a little bit more, probably more than they could in the next-gen car. So we're probably going to see some guys sideways. I noticed some guys just hacking the wheel off of turn 4, which I guess is not too crazy. It seems these guys are trying to just push momentum off the corner, which is very important with trucks.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of mid-corner looseness as well. Just taking a lap around here to get the thumbnail image for this race, it was very slippery. I think as the run goes on, the track rubber's in, it should get a little bit easier. Talking about Brad Slaughter Jr. is actually leading the points coming into the night by 25 over Colin Fambro. Ryan Hartz is in 3rd. Then Swerve Irvin runs 4th. Cameron Hearn up 14 spots after last week and up into position. Then James Shainwolf, Garrett Grant, Tyler Hallman, Justin Anisogak, Jacob Bell, Travis Beckner, and Hunter Collier, the rest of your top 12 that are competing in the playoffs.
And practice coming to a close here. Going to get qualifying underway. These guys are going to put some hot laps down and set your starting order for tonight.
And last night, qualifying was important. I always think qualifying is the most important session of any race weekend. But what we saw last night is the front row starters. Cameron Hearn was one of them. they dropped all the way to the back and crashing with each other. The front row starters ended up colliding on pit lane and ended up dropping all the way towards the back of the field. It took them the entire race to get back up to the front, but they did get back there and into the top 5, and Hearn was up into second by the very end of the race, right where he started. So it all worked out in the end. But now it's time to head down to qualifying and get things underway there. And as you mentioned, run a couple hot laps and post your time on the board. And as the sun gets low in the sky, we'll have a look at the weather information, critical here for qualifying. And what we saw last night, a lot of drivers waiting to the very end of the session to get the advantage of that sun dropping low in the sky.
Yeah, it seems really silly, right? It's only different than 10 minutes, but again, when you're fighting for hundreds and thousands of seconds, it can add up, surprisingly. So, and I mean, considering there's no penalty in waiting for the end, right? Yeah, unless you don't save yourself enough time, that could be a penalty. And we've seen many drivers in the past make that mistake where they don't give themselves enough time to make a lap or make a second lap if they need it.
Here's Ryan Swan in the number 1 Chevy Silverado with BlairRaces.com on the side. Heads off into turn 3, one of the first drivers out on the racetrack. Jordan Martin we saw fighting tooth and nail last night through the field. The butt kicker car.
Yeah, already seeing a small change in approach. A lot of guys approaching from the bottom lane, guys approaching from the top. I imagine they're all going to look for the bottom lane in qualifying when they're actually putting their main laps down.
Well, Swan is already through to complete his first lap, and it is a 33.037. Puts him up to the top of the board. Shane Wolf second quick, 2/10 back. Anna Sogak in third for a moment. It's bumped as Cameron Hearn goes to the top of the board. Colin Fambro fifth quick. Adam Capps. Travis Beckner out of turn 4. We'll see what he can do in the Leadso Marine Service car. Up to third.
Yeah, and actually looking through the field, I'm noticing there's a slight change. Some people going for the bottom, some people actually getting towards the middle of the track. And I'm not sure that's just them struggling to get the car down to the bottom in the first place while also keeping a high rate of speed, but seeing a small change in lines, and I think that's where we're seeing a couple differences in the timesheets. You mentioned the 67 at Hearn at the top at the moment, still waiting for more than half the field to qualify. Only a few cars out on the track. I think about 9 or so waiting, I think, as we were talking about before, waiting till the end of the session to put their laps in.
Here's Ryan Hartz, the number 3, catching up to speed here. And he'll be beginning his first flying lap. Right up against the outside wall to carry as much speed as possible. Middle of the road here through 1 and 2.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is what some of the guys are just about a lane or 2 off the bottom, flying off the corner. And again, it's a kind of trade-off, right? You want to take the shortest way around on the bottom, but you also don't want to bleed off too much speed. And actually, wow, goes straight up to the top. I'm guessing this is probably he's aiming for a second lap.
Yeah,
he's going to be. I think the second lap is going to be his main lap.
Treating it almost like a restrictor plate track in that sense. And first lap was only a 33.2, which is good enough for 13th, but I think we're going to see him go a lot quicker here. Brad Slaughter, points leader, is accelerating up to pace, heading for his first timed lap. And here comes Hartz out of turn 4. Where will he jump? A 32.856. Good enough for pole. Provisionally, 32.856. Fastest for the number 3. Jumps on the binders. Here's Brad Slaughter Jr. out of turn 4 on his first lap. What will he run on lap 1?
Across the line for him, 33.6 for Slaughter Jr. Going to put him near the bottom. Imagine he's going to push on this second lap here. To the outside corner exit. Now down the long back straightaway. Leading the points by 25. Feeling pretty good about where he's at, but always pushing for more. This early in the playoffs, you don't want to rest on what you've got. Yep, but gathers it up and across the line. We'll see if he can go to provisional pole this time. 32.963. Not quite, but it'll be good enough for 6th. I think 5th or 6th. There goes 6th. That's pretty good. That's not bad. I think if you can at least start in the top, as a playoff driver, you can at least start in the top half of the field. It's a decent start of the night. You definitely don't want to be in the back of the field and have to crawl your way up. Because not only is it more work for you, you're also putting yourself at risk of getting caught up in a wreck in the middle of the field. And that's the last thing you need.
So Tyler Hallman in the 42 now gathering up some momentum.
It's kind of funny everyone's going one at a time now.
Yeah,
Like
it's actually easy enough
back.
to catch. We still have 4 minutes left. I think we'll see a slow trickle towards the end. Down the long back straightaway he will go. Not a lot is a speed differential in comparison to the Cup cars. But without a lot of rubber up there against the outside wall, it's pretty tricky to sustain that line.
And Hallman doing the same maneuver, going to run the top lane after his first lap and then go down to the bottom. Big thing when you do this, though, is you really have to make sure you nail this lap. Otherwise, you're just going to be in the back, or make sure you don't get a 0x, and you're going to be way in the back as he drifts a little bit high to the wall, keeps it going. Didn't quite keep it tight in 1 and 2.
As far as manufacturers go, split pretty evenly amongst the top 15. And out of turn number 4, Hallman's second lap really loose out of 4. 33-142. Yeah, that's going to hurt him. He's going to jump 1 spot to 14th place as Danny Ware gets rolling up to speed.
Imagine probably with around 2 minutes ago, we're going to see potentially an F1 style procession out of the pits. Everyone's going out there for the laps.
Rhino USA on the side of the 18.
I gotta say, as we get a chance to look at everyone's paint scheme, there's some fantastic paint schemes in this field.
Livery game is strong, that's for sure. Red, white, and blue.
Yeah, even the detail on the number too, those little swipes here and there, it looks really good.
Stylized numbers are an underrated thing. As long as they're not overdone. But Danny building some momentum on the outside, kind of, again, qualifying very much like you would do at a place like Talladega or Daytona. And that's no coincidence. We were just at Talladega a couple of weeks ago, so they've got this fresh in their mind. Danny Ware in the 18. th in points, missed out on the playoffs by 2 positions.
Oof, you always hate that.
It was only 6 points back from 13th, so it was not far away. Looking at his season, Talladega was a 26th place result and a DNF after having a 7th at Nashville and a 6th at Coda. So he was building up some momentum, but a 25th at Charlotte, a 13th at Gateway, a 26th at Darlington. Some bad runs in there are what sealed the fate on his championship chances, but still out here trying to make what he can do, and up to 9th with that run. That's not bad at all. And here comes Jacob Bell starting his lap.
Yeah, Jacob Bell starting his lap, and actually AJ Roderick, who's also out on the track, he's coming to finish his second in his main lap, rounding out of turn number 4 in the 56.
And Roderick across the line, 32.954. That is a solid lap, good enough for 5th. While Jacob Bell comes across the line, 33.145 on his first lap out, but as we've seen, the second lap is typically the faster one. Goes to the bottom. And it looks like 4 drivers will not get an attempt to qualify. Hunter Collier in the 98, James Coey in the 24, Ed Robertson in the 64, and Joe Darnell in the 44.
So interesting thing, I just looked in the entries section of the iRacing tab, and it says that Collier, Mitchell, and Darnell all got disqualified.
Well, that doesn't usually lend itself to a very strong qualifying run. Jacob Bell up to 16th place. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed in that run.
And if you're probably wondering, how on earth do those guys get disqualified, right, in qualifying? Qualifying scrutiny is set to strict, so potentially they might have been trying to warm up their tires or doing something a little naughty, or maybe the iRacing system just accidentally got them because it's set to strict. But that's why 3 of them have not set times.
All right, well, a couple drivers won't set them, but the rest of the order is set. One last look on the left-hand side of your screen. There's your qualifying order, and it's Ryan Hartz and Cameron Hearn on the front row in the number 67. Shane Wolf, Swan, Roderick, the rest of your top 5. And maybe a little bit of a surprise that Paul Irvin, after the run he had last night, a strong one, is after making contact a couple of times, by the way, he managed to qualify as far back as 20th for this one. So not what he needed for that. As we head down to the racetrack here, we'll go to opening ceremonies. Be right back. Getting set for our 120-lap race for the area CNC Logging Truck Series from Homestead Miami Speedway, the first of 5 playoff rounds. The field getting set to go racing. I'd like to take this time to remind you that you can head to twitch.tv/area iRacing to watch the stream live. And big thanks to Area, and check out Elite Entertainment LLC on Facebook for the Elite Entertainment Cup Series. And make sure that you check that out before we get into our race tonight. But let's get through our starting grid before things kick off here, Finney. And on row number 1, it's going to be Ryan Hartz in that number 3 alongside Cameron Hearn of the 67. Both drivers, playoff competitors. They'll roll off on the front row.
And right behind them, the 31 in 3rd. James Shane will be rolling off in 3rd place. Ryan Swan will be lined up in the 1 car in 4th.
Behind them in row number 3, it's going to be AJ Roderick in the number 56, and Sean Mitchell in the number 58 rolls off in 6th.
Back in row number 4, it's going to be Brad Slaughter Jr. lined up on the inside in the 81, Travis Beckner in the 20 car in 8th.
Row 5, Garrett Grant in the number 5, and Danny Ware in the number 18 starts in 10th.
Moving back to 11th, find Jordan D. Martin lined up in the 11 car in 11th. And in 12 next to him, Justin Anasagak, you're going to be lined up in the 19 car.
Row 7, Kyle Sieg in the number 39. James Litzenberger rolls off 14th alongside him in the number 12.
Back in 15th, the 55, Adam Caskey lined up on the inside. Next to him, Jacob Bell in the 77 in 16th.
Row number 9, Tyler Hallman in the number 42. And Colin Fambro on the outside of the number 54.
Back in 19th, Matt Cochran going to be lined up in the 4 car. Paul Swerman Irvin going to be lined up in the 9 car in 20th.
21st place, Ed Robertson, the number 64. Hunter Collier, the number 98, rolls off in 22nd. In our last row, Joe Darnell and James Coey, all 3 of those last 3 disqualified in qualifying. They'll have a long way to go tonight to make it up to the front.
Yeah, especially Hunter Collier. That's going to be big for him. The last of the chase or playoff competitors. All the way in the back. He's got a lot of work to do back from 22nd.
120 laps in this race, just over 175 miles, 24 drivers. Pretty much at sea level here, just off the coast of southeastern Florida. And heading into turns 3 and 4 to kick things off. 120 laps if we go green from start to finish. That is about an hour worth of racing, pit stops, drama, and playoff action. The area CNC Logging Truck Series playoffs are about to begin. Ryan Hartz and Cameron Hearn share the front row. We roll off at turn 4. Pace truck pulls off, and we're going trucking in Homestead. Green flag flies and we're racing at Homestead in the Truck Series playoffs. Three wide into turn 3. The 56 in the middle of it, AJ Roderick. The 19 on the outside. Look at this battle, 2x2 ahead of him. The 5 of Garrett Grant's on the bottom. The 18 of Danny Ware on the outside.
Yeah, Roger got a horrible start to this race. He started in 5th all the way back to 14th as he got loose on the inside in turn 1. Cost him a huge amount of spots.
Cameron Hearn trying to hold back Ryan Swan, but Swan is through in the 1 car. Now drops to the inside ahead of, or drops right in line behind Shane Wolf in the number 31, but it's Hartz out front, commanding lead. 2nd place under fire.
Oh, and almost some contact with the quarter panel of Shane Wolf as he's going to try to ride up. Can't quite get there, gets pinched, and actually gets a little bit loose, and he's going to maybe lose 1-2 spots down the straightaway.
Beckner up the middle, now drops to the outside wall as Hearn goes back by. Frantic opening lap. Look at the 58 of Sean Mitchell, just chucks it into turn 1, but he's going to give up some time here. A little loose mid-corner as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're talking about, whoa, he loose off the corner as well. He's just loose everywhere. We're talking about these guys potentially being loose. I was expecting that to be more of an issue later in the run once the tires start to wear, but they're already starting off a little bit loose, I guess, with some cold tires.
Huge mess behind about 10th place. Jordan Martin, Danny Ware, Kyle Sieg, AJ Roderick, all in that mix.
I was going to say, again, like I said, if you're a championship competitor and those are the guys with the green banners, don't want to be in the middle of this mess because, again, all it takes is one guy to just break a little bit loose and come flying down on you, and your championship hopes are going to be next to over.
Saw a wiggle and a wobble in the background. I think they got it sorted, but again, this is such close quarters racing. We didn't have a lot of car-to-car contact at all last night. It was mostly just people losing control on their own and then getting hit by someone after the fact. Not a lot of crashes that started with car-to-car contact, though, and I think we're probably going to see a similar story tonight. But maybe too early to judge that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's always a little bit too early. You got to really wait and see what these guys have in store later on.
9 car. That's 9 truck, I should say. Swerve Irvin in the number 9, right behind the 19.
Up in front, though, Cameron Hearn, he got past the James Shane Wolf, and now is looking for Ryan Hartz for the lead. He's a man on a mission, that 67 car.
Whoa, a lot of shuffling in the background, about 15th place. And you're right, Hearn is on a mission. 5th in the points coming into the night. And chasing Rick's Hot Sauce, number 3 out front.
Yeah, he caught up to him a lot in the mid-corner, but he's kind of hit a bit of a wall now, being stuck in behind him. He's trying to look low. Hart's not giving it to him. He's just going to squeeze his truck. He's got a truck in the wall.
That's the 18, Danny Ware. Just scraped it. He got off of it okay. We'll drop a couple of spots. Here comes Hearn for the lead.
He's trying to get the inside lane, though, but it's going to hurt. You're going to see coming off the corner, that 3 is going to get a lot better of a run. And Aaron's going to have to fall back in lines. This is going to be hard, and I think Hartz knows that. He's trying to give him the inside lane, and now actually here you see Hearn try the top lane.
Yeah, the track temperature will continue to fall and make different lanes fairly viable, but we saw last night the outside kind of be the preferred place to pass, but left to their own devices, drivers would kind of go middle to the bottom. Here comes Hearn again, right down to the white line.
Yeah, it's all situational. It's where do you need that speed? Do you need that speed on entry, or do you need that speed on exit? And that's really going to determine where these guys are going to go.
Starting to spread out a little bit. Wow, one car way out of shape on the back straightaway. That's the 64 of Ed Robertson. I don't know if he got loose or if he just turned the car left off of turn 2. Here's a look at it, though. Just turned left.
He's trying to avoid contact, and Hearn actually dropping back to 3rd place now, as he was a little bit slow off turn number 4.
Oh, look at the wiggling and waggling in the background. The 58, Sean Mitchell and Brad Slaughter Jr. Slaughter leading the points coming into this evening at a 25-point advantage, but you can't rest on that. You have to perform at every round if you want to walk away the champion of the CNC Logging Truck Series. And 5th place isn't, or 6th place I should say, isn't bad, but I think he needs to be a little bit better than that average over the course of the season playoffs.
Well, finally got past 58 of Shane Mitchell, so we'll probably be able to go up and catch him. Still can't quite break off Mitchell. Mitchell's still fighting on that top lane.
To turn 3. Now he's going to try to build a big run here. Oh, the 58's in the fence, and Slaughter crosses over to the inside. That'll make his job a little easier if Sean just chucks it in the safer barrier as they battle for the lead again. Here comes Shane Wolf on Hartz this time.
Yeah, can't quite get it done. Hartz has been doing a great job of defending this lead, making these guys fight. to the bottom and to the top. He's just kind of sticking in the middle of the track, and honestly, it seems like the best place to be for the leader.
Lap 11 complete. And still some great battles all throughout the field. How about this for 15th? And a Sogak in the 19 on the outside. Colin Fambro in the 54 on the inside. Haven't seen a lot of Colin yet today. Great looking GoPro livery on this 54. Started the night in 18th. He's moved up 2 spots, but the progress has been slow.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Colin Fambro, at least for me. I think you saw him. He was in the, I assume he was racing last night?
No, actually.
Oh, he wasn't? Okay, so yeah, so it's been a while since we both seen Colin Fambro leading the Fuel, their Xfinity series a while back, and did pretty well in that series. Not doing as good, stuck back in 16th in the midfield here tonight.
Here's James Coey and Matt Cochran. These drivers are battling for last, 23rd and 22nd. But still side by side and giving it their all. Only 6 seconds behind the leaders. That's how close it is. Here's what it looks like out of turn 4 as the leaders come through. The entire field is still kind of packed up together. Here comes Hartz, Shane Wolf, and Hearn. All 1, 2, 3. A little bit of a 3-car breakaway.
Yeah, you can see there's not really much more than I think about 5-6 tenths of a second separation throughout the entirety of the field, which is really good. You always like to see everyone really close together. And really competitive, especially at the front of the field. Really 3 guys all with a solid chance of winning it in the early stages. And you're looking at those 3 right here, the 3, the 31, and the 67. Currently the 3 of Hearts dominating, leading every single lap.
A little bit of a lateral slide there from the 31. They just clicking away laps at this stage in the race. And now that everyone's spread out a little bit, the chance for a caution drops pretty drastically. And that's something a lot of these drivers want. They want those long green flag runs. Anytime that you get cautions and restarts, it puts your positions in jeopardy. Sure, you might be able to grab a few, but you're also going to lose or have the potential to lose positions if you're not on it. Restarts are so important with how close it is on this racetrack and how line dependent it can be when you restart.
See what?
Oh, big crash out of turn 4, trouble, and 5 cars around. Tyler Hallman is not one of them. Jacob Bell is. He's got big time damage, and there are a whole bunch of others with him.
Yeah, I was going to say that is quite a bit. And quite a few guys involved for the most part. Oh! E.T. and Danny were getting more contact after the fact, hitting Adam Capps.
This all started.
I was going to say a decent amount of guys seemed like they didn't have a whole lot of damage.
Oh, right. It starts up ahead with the 58 and the 5. A big impact there. Garrett Grant, the receiving end of that. Let's go back in a little further and see how this all started. Wonder if he tries to slide up perhaps and kind of clears himself on the 58, or if the 58 comes off the wall. 58's kind of turning down the racetrack, and they just kind of come across. Oh, look at that impact. And the 77 of Bell has nowhere to go. Neither does the 11 of Jordan Martin.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they just unfortunately met in the same piece of asphalt. One was coming down, one was coming up. Ooh. Oh, and some contact in behind, Danny Ware and the 55 of Adam Capps.
Capps gets in there as well. Then after all this, the 18 was trying to pull away, and I think actually runs into the 55 again.
Yeah, I wonder if that was on purpose. That almost seemed like it was. Like, I think some frustration.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
he had it slowed down, and the 55 was kind of destabilized. He was trying to get his truck woed down right here. And kind of might lock up the brakes and just slips and flips the 18, and then they tangle again. Here's what it looked like from the starter stand. That's a big hit for the 5.
Yeah, I was going to say head on. How many of the cars in the engine isn't smoking already? That was a direct hit on the front end.
Well, a handful of drivers with big time damage in that one. And the field down on pit lane. Some of them, none of them. I thought we'd see more drivers on pit road, but, well, handful. Not as many as I would have thought.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit surprised, especially Brad Slaughter Jr. That's a bit of a risky gamble.
I guess everybody but the top 6 came in. I guess that is a significant number. Again, limited sets of tires, so you're not going to come at every opportunity, and you're only 18 laps in, so maybe not.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You have to get taken in the limited tire sets, maybe saving it for later. But especially when a majority of your competitors come in, because I think he was joined by Tyler Hallman, I think, and Colin Fambro, I think, were the only guys to stay out. Everyone else, all the other playoff drivers came in if they weren't involved in the wreck.
Yeah, so again, I think that actually might be the play here is take tires when you know that they're going to be worth something. I don't know that with 100 laps left to go in this race, that tires are really worth a whole lot right now. So I think you're better off just saving them.
If anything, we'll find out. We'll find out if they're worth anything, right? Because the entire top 6, all on older tires, everyone else in behind on fresh rubber. We'll see if there's any difference. If the 16, 18 laps that we had, that's going to make a difference.
Well, that's the great thing about the passage of time, is that in a little while we'll know things that we didn't know yet. So that's great. We will know in a little while. But again, I don't know. We're going to know that the tires are probably worth having. Worth having for the long run or worth having for the short run? That's the big question.
And you always never know, too, that's going to bite you from behind later in the race when you're like, oh, there's a late race caution, I need tires, and have none to change to. So that's always one of those things. Are you trying to think, do I save this for later? Do I use it now? And you really never know as a driver, because anything can happen as we're just about to click to 100 laps to go with this restart.
Ryan Swan with some connectivity problems there. I know all about that, trust me. But thanks, Xfinity. Glad it's not the Xfinity Truck Series. Trucks rolling out of turn 4. I'll get my head used to that. We haven't called the Truck Series in years here, Finian. Green flag back in the air, lap 20.
It takes some getting used to. Swan already out and away, a huge amount of separation from the top 3. But Slaughter Jr. wasting no time to claim second place and actually trying to go for first.
Slaughter right up to the tailpipes of Ryan Swan up onto the back straightaway. And here comes Kyle Sieg in the 39 to the inside. Big run.
Yeah, some of these guys wasting no time using their newfound track position to their advantage.
And lots of double wide behind him. A big slip from the 28.
Notably, Shane Wolf has gotten past Hartz. Remember, they were fighting for the lead before the caution came out. So Shane Wolf ahead and actually leading the chart to the field. Wow, look at the difference in the mid-corner speed.
Yeah, again, this is not going to be good for those that didn't take tires. Ooh. But in the end of the race, they're going to be in a better position if we have a late race caution and you want to have that as an option.
Yeah, we still got a lot of racing to go. You're going to use up those extra tire sets pretty quickly just from normal running, although Shane Wolf looking a little sideways out of the corners, I think, trying to just push his truck as fast as possible just to get through these guys and break away. He doesn't want to waste any time. Ooh, and a block from the one up in front, trying to keep him in behind.
Close quarter stuff. Look at the 39 trying to stick to the outside quarter panel of Hartz. That didn't work. Here comes the 31. Can he slot back in line in front of the 3? The 3's going to take him to the inside, now to the outside.
Couldn't quite get there in time. He had to back off. Here comes Shane Wolf on the bottom though, and even Hearn going to stick his nose in. 3 wide in the middle of 3 and 4.
Yeah, there goes the 1. He's going to slide up the racetrack. 3 abreast out of turn 4. Shane Wolf to the lead. Hearn to second. Hartz back to third. And a frantic lap there on lap 22 leads to a new lead change.
Yeah, some great driving from Shane Wolf trying to make sure he got past Hartz. He saw the opportunity and did a great job of taking it. Now he's got to defend it. That's going to be a big ask.
1 sliding backwards. Here comes Swervin Irvin in the 9 at the bottom. Had to do a lot of swerving last night. Thankfully, so far, he's been in the clear.
The night's still young. Plenty of racing, plenty of swerving to potentially do.
Turn 1. Ryan Swan still going backwards. Here comes the 19 of Vanna Sogak. We haven't really talked a ton about him yet tonight. Started in 12th. He's been kind of quietly lingering.
I honestly had to do a double take. I actually legitimately thought that was Victor Kavlich.
If you close one eye and you close the other eye and you tilt your head sideways and upside down, you might actually be able to tell. But
because I saw the M&Ms and I saw the rectangular head, I'm like, oh, it's a Kavlich. I was like, wait, never mind. He actually kind of looks, at first glance, it does look a lot.
For the lead, here comes Hearn around the outside of Shane Wolf. Who wants a piece of this?
He might actually get him here. He's got a decent amount of his truck ahead, and he's going to get this nice run off the corner. And probably not as nice as he would have liked. Shane will still got the advantage on the bottom, though.
Dives it in really deep, but crossover here from the 67. Nicely done. That was textbook for Hearn, and he'll pick up this advantage at the line, but just.
Yeah, he'll lead the lap at the very least, but he won't clear him just yet. Now he finally does. Shane will struggling a little bit.
The battle's back here just outside the top 10. Colin Fambro in the 54, the 12, Litzenberger, and the 1 that we saw earlier.
Yeah, Fambro, one of those drivers, dropping back as well. Elected to not pit, so he's on a slow move towards the back of the field.
Working lap number 26, make it 27 of 120, about 52 minutes remaining. And a variety of different leaders so far. Here's a quick look at the recap of the first 27 laps. 4 leaders and 3 lead changes in 27 of 120. That's a pretty good number so far.
Yeah, might see another one coming up here shortly. Shane Wolf has not left Hearn at all. He's still pursuing him. Yeah, the top 2 pretty much break away. I saw Travis Beckner in the 28. He was approaching, but he's kind of backed off. He's being swarmed by Hartz and Paul Irvin in behind.
Here's Brad Slaughter Jr., again, one of the drivers that did not take tires, one of the top 6 from prior to the restart. Now, again, their call was a good one if we have a couple more yellows in this race. If it goes green most of the rest of the way, it's not really going to matter. They're kind of counting on those other drivers using up a set of tires that that Slaughter Jr. wants to have later. If they don't get an opportunity to use all their sets of tires, then perhaps that was a mistake. But again, that's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, that's the thing, Craig, because from what I've seen and from what I've heard from this series, they tend to go more on the green side of things compared to most other leagues. So it's not a good thing to really bet on, right? Because if you're in a league where you know they wreck a decent amount, you can kind of bet on that late race caution. But if guys race mostly green, especially because we're spread out pretty far already now, it's really tough to put your bets on that, especially because he's got a lot to lose. Right, because he's the point leader. He had a decent points gap. If this doesn't work out for him, you can see a lot of those points, that gap, just fade away.
James Litzenberger up just past Kyle Sieg, 14th to 8th, and his progress continues. Sieg in the 39, 13th to 9th, so a similar climb for him.
Talk about, speaking of progress, I'm going to take a look at the 64 of Ed Robertson, up 15 spots, started 21st, up in a 6th.
It's a really good climb for the Elite Entertainment 64 Tundra. Non-playoff competitor in the mix, the top running non-playoff competitor. Again, Cameron Hearn is in 5th in the standings, is a playoff competitor.
Ooh, already a left truck.
Yeah, I think that's the 11 of, well, Jordan Martin was one of them.
Oh no, it's Jacob Bell in the 77. He's driving his next to destroyed truck out, just trying to make laps. A little very off base. As one would imagine from hitting the wall head on.
Got butt kicker on the side and got his butt kicked in the front, too. That thing is not looking so good. Yep. There's the 19 sweeping by, Anna Sogak. Chatted about him briefly. Race just clicking away laps. We've had 1 caution so far, but out front, Cameron Hearn, I think, has been sort of the dominant truck so far. You have a look at the laps led, that would tell you not very much. He's only led 7. Shane Wolf has led 3. Beckner's led 0. Brad Slaughter has also led 0. Colin Fambro, also 0. Ryan Swan, 5. All the leaders have been spread pretty evenly, but my hunch tells me, especially after what I saw last night, that Hearn is going to be the one to watch this evening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously definitely seemed that way, right? Because he was in the top of the timesheets in practice, almost qualified first, started second. So definitely seems to be very quick. Obviously, the big question is, can he be quick throughout the stint? My hunch would say, from the looks of it, he might be able to do so, but he's still got Shane Wolf breathing down his neck. Really, those 2 to worry about. I am really surprised at Hart's. He's not really maintained speed. He's been slowly drifting back. Beckner got past him, and so did Paul Irvin in the 9 truck, and now Hart's back in 5th. And potentially might drop back to 6th if things continue. Robertson's catching up on him.
Yeah, one thing we saw last night in the Elite Entertainment Cup Series was a lot of comers and goers, more than I would have expected. drivers would shoot up to the front in the beginning of a run, and then by the end of it, they would fall deep into the field, and we'd have some people that would kind of linger and then climb their way forward. So I think we'll see some of that. Again, the drivers have such personalities here. Especially on the racetrack, you can really tell they've got their styles. And last night we saw such an aggressive battle up at the front all night long, and I think we're going to see something similar. But with this strategy kind of putting things off for a few of those drivers, it might be a little while till we see that strategy come to light.
Looking at some side-by-side action, Tyler Hallman versus Kyle C. Both of these guys elected to stay out, so they're on old tires. I think they cannot wait to come down pit road, get some fresh rubber.
And Hallman, a playoff competitor, and no time for panic just yet, but come into the evening as a playoff competitor and you're outside of the top 5 or outside of the top 10, and Hallman is just inside it. That's when I would start to just worry a little bit, right? Because right now there's 12 playoff competitors. As those competitors get whittled down, your average finish is going to start mattering a whole lot. So 9th place as a playoff competitor might be fine in the first couple of rounds, but once you get to rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, you really got to bring that average finish way, way up.
Yeah, that's a bit surprising for me too, is that, being a little bit further in the back in the field, you got a little bit of that luxury of seeing where guys go to see the battle going on between 64 and the 9. Ooh, and there he goes to the inside of Beckner. The inside of Irvin. It's Robertson going on by.
Lines up the racetrack, though. Irvin's going to build a run on the front straightaway with the scraps of Robertson's run, but not quite enough to get back alongside. One of the things about the truck is that you have a low enough horsepower figure that you can really drive deep into the corners and then slow the truck down. You don't need to arrest that much momentum. You can really hustle these things around here, drive off into the corner, then slam the brakes and slide up, and you have a pretty good shot of making the turn. Not something you can do in a car like the Gen 6 or the Gen 7 Cup car, where you have a lot more momentum coming into the corner. You have to slow down earlier, turn in earlier, because you have to slow down so much more speed.
Yeah, it's kind of why we see some really good side-by-side racing. I think because there's such a less off-throttle time and difference in speed, we're seeing everyone so close together. But unlike the early versions of the next-gen car, you can actually follow fairly well. There's a little bit, once you get up right in behind someone, you'll feel a little bit of dirty air, but that's like right when you're inside, up against someone's bumper. So the trucks have pretty much always raced well from as long as they've been in the service. It's always been a fun series to race in.
AJ Roderick getting by Kyle Sieg, and I think as Kyle Sieg got a little bit high in turns 1 and 2. Here's a look at it. Right here. Gets into the wall in turn 1.
Again, another driver can't wait to get to can't wait to change his tires. What if you guys are starting to see? We were talking about people running the high lane, and really no one's gone up there. We're seeing Sieg and Slaughter do it now, I think, because their tire life is at near the end. So it's a lot easier to run that top lane with the tires so worn out. It's a lot harder to keep on the bottom. Just going to come flying off the corner.
Yeah, and right now is a great snapshot of where the tires put people. Everybody from 9th to 14th, those are the 6 that did not pit under that first caution flag. And those 6, the highest runner is 9th, the lowest runner is 14th. So there's only 3 more drivers behind them that are on the lead lap. So that's how far they've dropped. But again, banking on a lot more yellows later in the race. But so far, we're a third of the way done this lap through, and we've only had 1 caution. So that might be a little bit alarming for those that were expecting some more.
Oh man, I think I want to go on board with Shane Wolf off of 4. He's looking a little bit loose. Saw the back end hanging out.
Right on board. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of that.
Another look at it here. He knew it too. He had the right foot down.
Long. I mean, that's the best thing to do, right? Just kind of just drive it out. But you can see it's the truck starting to come away from him.
Watch the orange tape on the steering wheel just wiggling back and forth. Did a good job, but just driving through it.
He made it look really easy on the TV camera, but in the truck, you could see him wheeling that thing off the floor.
Swerve and Irvin down to the inside of Anna Sogak. These two are battling for 6th. And Kyle Sieg hits pit lane, and a lot of right side damage. Again, that was from that contact with the wall in turn 1. But lap 42, you could expect some more pit stops, I think.
Yeah, when he was side by side with, I think that was that not Hallman? Who was, oh, he was side by side with Brad Slaughter Jr. He ended up hitting the wall in the straightaway again as well, so he picked up even more damage. So I think he figured it out enough. He's coming in to service his truck.
Smoke.
Smoke.
Turn
engine?
2. Who is the smoking car? I think is that Jacob Bell on the bottom, and it is that engine.
And now is when everyone that stayed out on the last caution would be wishing that there was oil leakage in iRacing.
Caution! No, I'm just kidding. Soon. But the 77, that engine has met its expiration date, unfortunately. Full past the sell-by. And gone rotten for the 77.
Yeah, it's really, what is not the way you want to start off your playoff. Back in all the way near the end of the field is where pretty much where it's going to be finishing. I think going to pretty much be finishing in 19, potentially 20th actually. Jordan Martin is out there and his engine is still kicking for now.
So Tyler Hallman, Colin Fambro, Ryan Swan, the only 3 left to pit.
Ooh, Hunter Collier actually missed pit lane. He was coming on down. Missed the entry. He was very slow on the straightaway.
Here's what that looked like. And we've seen this. Wow, never. That was not even close. And it's frustrating because you feel like you can make it. And then you're like, uh-oh. You realize about 50 feet past your braking marker that wasn't going to happen.
You get on the brakes and you realize, oh yeah, I'm driving a stock car. And you realize they have next to no brakes.
They'll try that one again. And second time's the charm for Collier. Oh, don't speak so soon.
Second time, let's put him in the wall.
Yeah. Yep. Oh.
Ooh, speeding penalty for AJ Roderick.
Oh. 56 car. That is unfortunate, to say the least.
Yeah, he's going to have to spend some extra time with the box. That's going to be a big thing, too. I'm going to be trying to make sure I check. I just happened to be checking randomly and ended up seeing that he got a black flag. Maybe taking a look and see if anyone's been speeding down pit lane. Needs a good speeding ticket to them.
Ryan Swan on pit road in the number 1. And Ed Robertson losing a spot to the 19 of Justin Adesogak. Now, the other drivers are not that far removed from having to make a pit stop, though. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think we could probably see them coming in around maybe 10 laps.
Yeah, 10 to 15 laps they're going to have to come on pit lane. And that will put them around halfway. So that's something to consider as well. Ryan Swan leaving the box and heading back to the racetrack. And Tyler Hallman has been on track for a while. He's been on track for 47 laps. So if we're keeping an eye on how long drivers are running on a fuel tank.
I think I heard him say he's coming on down this time by.
Yep, here he comes. And Colin Fambro will go another.
So that's about what, 43, 44 racing laps? Thereabout?
Yeah, and Fambro's going to go another one, so do the math for the 54.
I want to do math. Math's scary.
So Cameron Hurd leads the way here in the area CNC Logging Truck Series. Playoff race number 1 of 5. Next week we're heading into the road course racing at Charlotte Roval. And that place is very scary. Oh, yeah.
Oh! Go to Cameron Hurd right now. Oh, you missed it too late.
What? I've been on him.
No, well, I meant, sorry, I should have specified, go on board with him. Because he was just I had the clutch in turns 1 and 2.
Okay.
Should have been a little more specific.
Well, man, there it is.
There you go, yeah.
Trying to make it back to the box. Trying to make it another lap.
No, I think what it is, I think he realizes he might be able to just do 1 stop for fuel. I think he's trying to push that a little further.
So now 7. Okay, well, so there's 70 laps to go next time by. That's 2 35-lap runs. He should easily be able to make it on 1 more stop after this. So I think he's just trying to go 1 more on this run. I don't know why he's so desperate to get that 1 extra lap, but maybe to offset the tires and have a bit more of an overcut and have fresher tires later in the race would be my guess.
I mean, I guess, but I don't hear Shane Wolf getting on the clutch either, so it's only Hearn, so I guess I don't know. I don't know what he's up to. He's up to something.
Yeah, he wouldn't pit now either. So, I'm sorry. I was confused. I thought he was about to pit, but he is not. He has already come to pit lane, so that redoes the math a little bit on when he would have to come to pit lane. So, yeah, so if he could go if he's gone 50 laps on fuel, and he can pit one more.
No, he's gone 33 laps on fuel.
Oh, 33 laps on fuel. Okay, so that answers that question then. So if he can go 20 laps, then he's good to go. So I guess that's the strategy there. Here comes Shane Wolf in the 31. So as we get closer and closer to the halfway point, I'd like to take a moment and thank the Elite Entertainment LLC for their support of the Elite Entertainment Cup Series and all of us here at Area. Be sure to check out Elite Entertainment LLC on Facebook and book them to DJ your next event. Work our way towards halfway here in the Area CNC Logging Truck Series playoffs.
Yeah, and also just to add to Hearn saving fuel, Colin Fanberry's been out there, I think, 52 laps. It's about 48 laps of actual racing. Up and now finally comes in. Ooh, that's a little bit late, Colin.
Wow, that was quick, but I think he got it woed down.
He got away with it, but that was a late pit entry if I've ever seen it. He's coasting down.
So that was the last driver, the last holdout to make their first pit stop of the day. 53 laps with a caution, and that is a number that Cameron Hearn is trying to be able to do on his second run after he made a pit stop at lap 15 after that initial caution flag and crash.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be interesting to see, right? Because that's all betting on the fact that this race goes green, which is what all the other guys that ended up coming in a little earlier had bet on. So if it goes green in the end, Hearn's in a very comfortable position, obviously being the leader, but also saving that fuel because for the most part, it doesn't seem like anyone else is saving. So he seems to be in the catbird seat. The other guys, meanwhile, waiting for a caution to come out to reset everyone.
Some drivers have made their second stop of the night already. Hunter Collier, Adam Capps, AJ Roderick. Roderick had to come back down to serve a penalty, so he is 2 laps down and not where he needs to be. He's in 18th place right now. Not a playoff competitor, so no stress about the championship. But at this stage in the season, you're not caring about the championship trophy. You just care about winning races. And while everyone else is busy kind of point racing, you can go up there and try to steal one, but not from 2 laps down at 18th place. And there's about almost a dozen drivers ahead of him that are only 1 lap down that are in a position for a free pass. So this 56 car's in trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, he started off the night well, but after really in turn 1 is where it all started going wrong, right? Because he got loose, fell back in the mid-pack, pretty much to stay there, and then he ended up getting this pit road speeding penalty, which is probably the last thing he needed. So he's all the way back, and again, 2 laps down. That's going to be hard to come back from. He also really needs to, if Gosh comes out now, it's really not going to help a whole lot because he will still be 1 lap down.
18 to Danny. No, that wasn't the 18. One of the other red and blue. That's the 3 truck that did that. Ryan Hartz just scraped the wall out of turn 4, but doesn't have any visible damage, so I don't think it's a big deal. Around the outside of him just went the 81. Brad Slaughter Jr. now, again, on this alternate strategy, comes in leading the standings and is now 11th, not even the first car 1 lap down. Is this cause for concern for a championship run? Again, it's not going to derail it all in one go here, but it certainly could take away the advantage that you've earned.
Well, again, it really depends on how this is going to shape out, right? Because if the guys who came in that first time, if they do have to come in a second time, they're pretty much going to be on par with the guys that stayed out, right? So, again, if Hearn stays out, though, he's going to cut 1 pit stop short, so he'll be very much ahead of the field. Again, that's assuming that he can make it all the way. There's a lot of different strategies at play, and I'm sure I don't even think some of them may have realized they even played into a certain strategy, but again, they got to do the best with what they've dealt with, and Brad Slaughter just trying to make up what he can and just kind of push that truck as fast as possible, just making up time.
Travis Beckner in the 28. This is a name that we haven't really talked a lot about. He started 8th, running 3rd, but I might lose that to Ryan Hartz, who's right on the quarter panel and has a big moment through turn 2 as Hartz tries to get by Beckner, but it doesn't stick.
Yeah, Beckner's been having a really solid, quiet run. He put himself inside the top 5 and pretty much stayed there. Hasn't really made a whole lot of noise. He's been kind of riding along, but almost had some noise and almost had tires squealing as he would have gone sideways had him and the three made contact.
31 of Shane Wolf also got sideways just out of picture.
42 of Holman's also going to enter the frame in just a little bit.
Wow.
See them with fresh tires.
I'll say he entered the frame. He entered the frame like a cool stepdad. That was just awesome. That was a bad one. Into turn 3. As we hit halfway, Cameron Hearn out of turn 4 in the 67. He has led to this stage 35 laps. Is the first one across the line halfway. Shane Wolf second, Beckner third, Hartz and Asogak, Robertson, Swerve and Irvin, Litzenberger, Coe, Slaughter Jr. Your top 10 here at the halfway point. Fans, be sure to visit our sponsor Swift Lifestyles for clean supplements that help improve your focus and gaming. Use discount code AREA iRacing for 15% off your entire order. We'd like to thank Swift Lifestyles for their support of the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series. Here comes the 42 with those fresher tires. 1.7 seconds away from the next driver on this list, which will be Brad Slaughter, and unlaps himself, which is critical at a stage of the race like this.
Yeah, so both Brad Slaughter and Hallman have unlapped themselves. As you mentioned, that is very key. Ooh, almost a wreck off of turn 2 between Robertson and Swan. Yeah, that would have been the caution right there. So Robertson almost wrecking loose off of turn 2.
There's the 64, who is currently running in 6th. Ryan Swan was beside him. Swan is a lap down in 12th, and wow, you're right. A big moment there. Robertson caught it before it turned into something a lot worse, but that was a little closer than I think either of them would have liked.
Now, again, we were also talking too about a lot of the guys kind of wanting a caution to even things out. Thing is, though, if caution comes out now, I think it's not going to really help them a lot. I think they're going to want caution to come out after pit stops happen, because then they're going to be in the top few positions.
Whoa, Beckner heard the tires light up and squeal at the exit of 4. As slow car turn 1, James Coe drops behind Brad Slaughter. Oh, he's real slow.
Yeah, he's 46 laps in his run, and from the looks of it, I feel like he might have a tire potentially about to go down. He's, as you mentioned, very slow in the middle of the corner.
There's a look at it as he goes off into turn 1. Just turns in, and look at the 81, just drives right by him like he's standing still. There's a TikTok logo on the car, sign of the times.
I still not made a TikTok, and I refuse to do it.
I have a secret one, don't worry about it.
Traitor.
This is for second, Shane Wolf and Beckner. And Ryan
Beckner's been...
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, Beckner's been starting to poke his nose in a couple places. He's been having a really solid truck on the later part of the run while Shane Wolf's kind of falling off, and even Hartz for that matter. Might actually potentially be able to get the pass done before pit stops happen, which should be occurring in the next 10 laps or so.
Sun in your eyes out of turn 4 as well. And for drivers that are in VR, that can be a huge distraction. But thankfully, not for too much longer.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a huge distraction when you're trying to already fight a truck that's loose, and then you have the sun blinding your eye. Not a good combination.
Here comes the 1 trying to unlap himself.
Yeah, he's got to be careful here because these guys are wrecking loose coming out of the corner. So hopefully he gives them at least enough space, otherwise you could see the collection.
Yeah, so that's the difference between pit stop or 19 lap old tires and 48 lap old tires on the 28.
And Colin Fambro is making some inroads, about to get to the inside of Swan. Remember, this is also a decent tire differential between both of them. Colin Fambro on about 8 or 9 lap old tires. 8 lap younger tires than Swan.
So I'm curious how much fuel Cameron Hearn has been saving, because he continues to run slower than everybody chasing him all the way back to 7th. But that might be all in his plan, trying to make it on his one final stop. Which if he could get to lap, well, if he could make it to lap 70, he'd be good to go, I think, based on what we've seen so far tonight. I think that seems easy.
He's got to make a few more laps. Again, I'm not sure. We could probably see him That's Exodus down a pit road in a few laps, and even then, I think he's a little bit short. I think he's trying to give himself more headroom to work with in the later part, so that way he doesn't have to save on the second run. Because even if he does pit at a lap 70, remember, he's been getting to this point by saving, so he's going to have to save on the second run as well.
That's a good point. And we've gone green a long time, so those that didn't take tires on that first stop, they might be regretting it. Brad Slaughter Jr. still 26 seconds back from the leader and on a very different strategy than the rest of the group. But that was the roll of dice that they played, and it just didn't work out for them. That's just how it is. But I don't know if I would have taken that risk, but maybe the other way was the risk. I'm not really sure how to think about that.
I mean, personally, if I was Brad Slaughter, and I never would be because I would never be leading the points in any series I race in. But if I was, if I see the leaders, especially the guys that I'm racing with, a bunch of the chase guys up in the front, if they came into pit road that early in the race, I would probably want to do the safer option and come in with them. Just because if the leaders are going in, typically most of the guys in behind will also want to go to pit road. I found, so we'll see. You call Cameron Hearn coming in, everyone's coming in.
Yeah, well. That Max Exodus you were talking about might be starting. Shane Wolf Robertson on pit lane. And as you mentioned, here comes the 67. And Hartz and Beckner and the 19 of Anna Sogak and more. What was it about no Max Exodus down a pit lane?
Yeah. Everyone coming down pretty much at exactly the same time. I think everyone's been watching the fuel numbers. They're like, yep, I can good to go. Either that or also they're starting to run on fumes. So the surprising thing, though, is that we saw her and he was consistently saving throughout the rest of the run, but everyone else didn't seem to be saving, yet they all came in on the same lap, that's what I find surprising.
Well, we have seen a couple drivers get to 50 laps, and I don't think everybody was saving. I think maybe there was just some more flexibility built into that for the leader if he just saved a little bit more fuel. So I'm not sure if it was totally necessary to do, but it certainly can't hurt, and he had the lead to support it. I think that's the critical part, right? It wasn't like he was giving up spots doing that. Maybe time on the racetrack, sure, but he was still leading. If there was a caution, then his track position would be saved anyway.
So Tyler Holman is your leader. And actually, I completely missed past the 5 laps ago. He ended up overtaking Brad Slaughter Jr. So leading driver of the ones that stayed out after the first and only caution we had this evening.
All the way back at lap 15, so we've been green for a long time now. About 55 laps or so.
And off the pit lane. Yeah, I was going to say Hearn Hartz, but Shane Wolf up the road actually about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, that came down to the pit stop time. Hearn's stop was 15.2, Shane Wolf was 14.4, and that 0.8 of a second matters a lot on the racetrack.
And Hearn already starting to save.
Yeah. Well, again, flexibility for overtime. We get 1 attempt at overtime here, so you're not going to go 5, 6, 10 laps over. But you could go 2 or 3 laps over. Well, Hallman leads the way. We're under 50 laps to go.
Brad Slaughter back on pit lane.
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't sure what was up with that.
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't get the chance to see how long he was out there before. He came in too quickly.
Yeah.
He wasn't out there too long, right? Let me try to figure it out. Okay, he came in lap 43. Now he can't come on lap 70. Okay, that's not as close as I thought. So he came in 30 laps. He went, what, 30 laps and then came in? Yeah.
You're confusing me now.
No, so he went to, his last stint was 30 laps, basically what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. Yeah, but so he's focused on the end of the race at this point. He was just getting in his window for the end, perhaps. I think that's all that was. It's just the goal to make it to the end. And with 45 to go, I think that was the right time to come. A little bit later than those at the front, so you don't have to necessarily worry about saving fuel, but early enough that you're going to get the full advantage of those tires.
Oh, I switched back now, yeah. I'm just surprised. If I was him, I might have stretched it a little bit longer, maybe kind of cut that stint in half, but I'm not the driver or the points scorer, so I'll let him do it as he does.
Robertson up the racetrack, the 19 of Anna Sogak on the inside. And looks like the 19 was just going to pull up in front of him and get a push down the front straightaway. And Hearn and Swan just ahead.
Ooh, Swan loose off turn 2 a little bit. Loose in the middle corner. He's starting to struggle on his tires. He's still got a ways to go, technically. He could come in earlier. I'll be surprised if he stays out for too much longer. We'll see. So he kind of slowly drifts on back.
It's a working lap 77 of 120. About 25 minutes remain in this race if we go green to the end, which the chances are good to do that based on what we've seen so far. And Shane Wolf and Fambro trading spots. Shane Wolf drives right by. Again, Fambro still waiting on that second stop, or that final stop. 24 laps on this set of tires and this tank of fuel.
We'll probably see him go maybe another 10, 15 laps, and then he may decide to come on in.
Tyler Hallman in the 42 continues to lead the way, but he will need to come in the next 20 laps or so, but I don't think he's going to wait that long. How long do you wait?
I mean, I would wait till the tires kind of start to fall off. I mean, there's always a crossover point, and as a driver, you got to figure that out. You don't have people to do the math for you. You just got to decide, and you decided to come in right on now.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting close to that crossover point. Basically, it's splitting the runs in half. And closing in on 40 to go, he'd just done 30, so it maybe another 5 laps, so it equalized out a little bit, but maybe he thought he was losing too much time to do that. Back to Hartz and Hearn, 3rd and 4th place. These drivers fought hard last night as well, and they're going back at it in the Truck Series.
We go by Jacob Bell.
Ooh, big clutch input for Hearn in turn 3.
Yeah, I think he's kind of almost purposely running in behind the 3. I think maybe using, it's not a whole lot, maybe using just a little bit of slipstream just to give himself, allow himself to save a little bit more. Not a whole lot of savings, but every little bit counts.
There's the 42 rejoining the racetrack, back in 12th. And first driver 1 lap down. That's a good place to be in case we get a caution flag. You're going to be anywhere a lap down. The first driver 1 lap down is not a bad spot.
Yeah, he's about 7 seconds in behind Brad Slaughter Jr. Brad Slaughter is about 18 seconds back from the next car in 10th place, so he's got a lot of work to do. But actually, for the most part, it actually seems for Brad Slaughter, this might not be too terrible, right? Because he's got, I think there's about, what, okay, there's 2 guys ahead of him that need to come in. So it looks like Slaughter's going to be finishing about maybe 9th, 10th at worst. So it's not terrible.
Not terrible, but it's not great, right? I mean, again, you're leading the standings. You've got a little bit of a buffer that you've built for yourself, but you know, we've got a couple more tracks like this, and the season finale at Las Vegas is, you know, it's a 1.5 miler. Yeah, it doesn't look exactly like Homestead, but the strategy play, you have to be able to nail it. And tonight it was not nailing it for the 81 and several others. Again, it was just that big roll of the dice. And if you're leading, I wouldn't be throwing those dice so aggressively at the start of the race. I'd play a little bit more of a conservative strategy and make sure that I'm running where the majority of cars are. Because if 25 drivers do one thing and 5 drivers do the other thing, I don't care if I know the other thing's wrong. You're just it's a safer play to pit with everybody else and do what everyone else is doing, because other cars are points. And if you're ahead of them on the racetrack, you might as well do what they're doing. You'll still be ahead of them and ahead of the majority on the same strategy.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed like he has a truck to at least finish top 5. So, I mean, I would say that's probably where he would have ended up if he came in with everyone else. But, again, as you mentioned, he's kind of gambled. Fortunately, at the moment, it seems like it's gone the wrong way. Still got 40 laps of racing left, so a lot can still happen.
Got 20 minutes of racing left to go. Here's Fambro in the 54, and James Litzenberger on the outside making a pass. Litzenberger started 14th up to 7th, has had a nice day. Fambro also has gained some spots, 10th to 8th.
Yeah, still have to have him come in, though, so he's going to lose quite a few of these spots that he's running in. So he's going to probably drop back to maybe 13th, 14th at the moment, where it seems like he may end up. And Ryan Swan in the number 1, he's down on pit lane for his final stop, which should be his final stop of the evening.
Ryan Hartz, Cameron Hearn, second and third still. 3 seconds behind James Shainwolf in the 31, who tonight has led 10 laps. And the leaders have been spread pretty evenly, I'd have to say. Ryan Hartz has led 16. Cameron Hearn has led 46. That's probably the biggest chunk of anybody. But not, no one real dominant car necessarily. Probably put the 67 as your favorite, but everyone else has split the laps pretty evenly. Here's a look at the race recap so far. 36 laps to go, make it 35 now. 5 leaders, 5 lead changes in 86 laps.
Yeah, it's effectively been a battle between Shainwolf, Hartz, and Hearn. Those have been the main 3 trucks in the battle. Travis Beckner pretty much also there too, but hasn't made a whole lot of noise, sitting quietly inside the top 5.
Hearn's still saving fuel, and I, at this point I'm not exactly sure what for. I mean, I guess it's not hurting you, but why?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. From the fuel mileage from the last stage, it seemed like everyone had enough to make it over that point. I guess maybe he's saving early so he can push later on. I don't know, because I'm not even sure if, you know, maybe we missed the other guys saving gas. But yeah, it does raise a few questions, honestly. Because at some point, if he has been saving, he needs to start going. Because he's starting to lose sight of Shainwolf, and they're coming down to 3 laps to go. And 3 seconds is about a lot to make up.
Yeah, once you get to 30 to go, in my mind, it like the race fundamentally changes, right? You start counting down the laps instead of counting up. And you have to start positioning yourself for that final move, that final pit stop. That final pass. If you're chasing somebody, you set your goal to get to them and start charging forward because you're running out of time at this stage.
Actually, the interesting thing, so that gap was around 3 seconds a few laps ago. It's been slowly decreasing back in the other way. And I'm not saying that's much changed.
No, yeah, 2.2 seconds, you're right. The lead has begun to shrink for Shainwolf.
Ah, it's because Shainwolf's starting to save gas now.
Yeah.
So I guess this is the master plan for Hearn, right? Save it early so you can just go like crazy later on in the run.
Yeah, 30 laps to go next time by. And yeah, there you can see now one thing Shainwolf did is he let go of the clutch really aggressively, and it kind of snapped the car mid-corner. You have to be careful when you release the clutch that you're not shocking the drivetrain, because you can actually spin yourself out doing that. But he is losing time, and not a little bit. It's about a second last time out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he maybe is looking at his fuel gauge and realizes, uh-oh, I don't have enough. And I think that's what Hearn was probably trying to avoid, maybe save a little bit here and there early on. So yeah, I guess now it's starting to look like it's going back in Hearn's favor, and even Hart's favor, for that matter, because he's also sitting pretty well, although we don't know what his fuel situation is. I haven't heard a whole lot of saving out of number 3.
Hartz, Hearn still battling for second place as they have been for the last 30 or 40 laps. Travis Beckner and Justin Anasogak. By the way, the 19's progress has just been so slow and so steady tonight. 12th to 5th and running inside the top 5 here. This is just going to be a really solid points night for the number 19 truck.
Yeah, it is a really solid run, as mentioned, also a very quiet run. Thing is, they're going to need some slightly better runs, especially because, whereas he said he's saying 9th in the points, so he's got some ground to make up. So he's going to need something that needs to finish a little bit better just to catch up with some of his other competitors. But you're actually looking at the playoff picture, considering the other runners in. So we got, let's see, Cameron Hearn's currently sitting 5th in the points, Shainwolf sitting in 6th, and Hart sitting in 3rd. And they're actually all pretty close together. The only real big separation is Brad Slaughter, who we know is going to lose some points out of tonight, should things remain as they are.
Cameron Hearn got really close to the wall in turn 4. He might have actually hit it. Right, though
Whoa.
He did get it.
Oh, yeah.
You see the sparks flying. They're ground the whole right side of the truck along it. And there is a little bit of damage. I don't think it's going to be catastrophic in any way, but he is going to lose a little bit of the advantage that he was building on Ryan Hartz as Hartz gets closer to the leader as well. So that was a critical time, and it's going to set Hearn back a little bit.
Yeah, he's running in nicely in behind Hartz, and he's got to push himself a little harder to catch back up. Got about half a second to make up.
One caution early at lap 15. For the last 80 laps, we've been all clean and green. And we're closing in on 25 laps to go. Shane Wolf leads the way. We expect these drivers are good on fuel, but a lot of them are saving right now just in case that green-white checkered. They want to have a little extra in the tank.
Slowly turning to a fuel mileage race, especially Shane Wolf is having to save more and more fuel. He's running about a 10th slower a lap than Hartz, who's closing in behind him.
Yeah, there's the 3. 1 second back now, and then 8/10 back to Hearn, who is slowing down. That damage might be hurting him just a little bit. Travis Beckner, 1.3 behind him, and a Sogak, 3/10 back. And the top 5 are the tightest battles in the entire field at the moment.
Whoa, Shane Wolf really loose off.
Man, he caught it, but he walked it up the hill pretty good.
And damn, if he's that loose already, it's really only going to get worse, especially because he's going to need to start pushing at some point, if the gas allows it, to try to defend this lead. But he's running out of fuel and running out of tires. And Hart's looking in a lot more comfortable position.
Yeah, Hart's only 6/10 back now, continues to close. Really big slide again for Shane Wolf. If he's back on it now, he's wearing out those rear tires as well. Hartz is using all the fuel. Sun getting low in the sky in the first round of the playoffs for the Area CNC Logging Truck Series playoffs. Round 1 here at Homestead, and just over 20 laps to go, getting down to the nitty-gritty.
You can just tell by the way they're coming off the corner. Hart's keeping that truck a lot more towards the inside, while Shane Wolf, you can see the truck walking up the hill and coming close to the wall on exit, and you see him breaking loose, trying to keep the car from going into the wall.
Smoke out of turn 4. I think it's pit lane related. And I don't see anybody down there that is on fire or smoking.
Yeah, I'll do some investigation.
Not a spin,
was
though.
that was someone that was on pit road. Had their truck on fire, basically. That was Jacob Bell. Oh, Jacob Bell's back on the track.
Oh, well, that might explain the smoke.
Yeah,
got the engine sort of fixed, but it was smoking earlier, so I wouldn't expect that thing to last too long.
Yeah, I was wondering why he actually bothered to get back on the track, and the reason is because he actually can pass Kyle C., who was disconnected from the server. He's no longer racing, so he's one position ahead, 14 laps ahead, so has enough time to get it done.
Yeah, playoff competitor, every point matters. And while this might set you back, best thing you can do is just grab every single opportunity that you can find for points.
I was just going to say battle between these two.
Tyler Hallman and Brad Slaughter Jr. This is for 9th place. And the last 2 drivers on the lead lap at the moment, they would love a yellow flag to get some of their track position back.
Yeah, I think this is really ideally where they would need that caution. Just to get themselves back in the picture, because they really have nothing else going for them at this point. No one's really going to catch them from behind, but they're not going to gain anything, because the next truck ahead of Hallman is 15 seconds up the road. New pass for position. Oh, Shane Wolf wrecking loose off of turn 2.
Lost the lead to Hartz, but almost crashed out of turn 2. Let's go back and have a look. He gets put middle 3 wide with Fambro on the outside, and big slide, gathers it up and continues, but now is in 2nd place. Hartz takes the lead away, the critical stage in this race. He's led 16 laps. Can he lead 19 more?
And Shane Wolf not happy with Fambro.
Well, put him in a tough spot, but Fambro is fighting pretty hard because he's about to go a lap, or it actually just got a lap back. So he's got every right to race those guys, and he went around the outside. He went around the hard way and got it done, so you can't blame him too much, but I'm sure Shane Wolf is frustrated by the current scenario. The 3 was coming, and I think the 54 just was the catalyst to that reaction.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Hart timed that perfectly, right? He used the 51. I think might have seen him that he was coming in for 54. Saw the 54 was coming in a hurry and decided to use him as a pick, basically, and make the pass attempt a little easier. So 3's up ahead, got clean road ahead. Again, still not sure of Hart's situation. Again, have not seen him in any fuel saving mode whatsoever, but he seems pretty confident. It hasn't seemed like he's been trying to save, so I'm not sure what's up with the 3, but I mean, he's looking pretty solid at the moment. Shane Wolf looking not as good, and Hearn's still trying to catch both of them, although he's dealing with that damage from earlier.
Laps clicking away, only 1 caution in this race so far, and just 17 laps to go.
I'm actually looking at Hearn. He actually ended up picking up, besides the damage that I think we initially saw, I think he actually picked up some more damage.
With about 15 laps to go, we'll take this moment. Thanks CNC Logging. CNC Logging. Located in Boiling Springs, South Carolina, CNC Logging is your place to go for any of your logging needs. Got wood? Big or small, summer or fall, we'll cut your log guaranteed. I love that. A fun one.
They're in what, Boulder Springs?
They're in Boiling Springs, South Carolina.
That's a cool name for a town.
Summer or fall, we'll cut your log. Guaranteed. I like that guarantee. From CNC Logging, thanks to their support for the area CNC Logging Truck Series. And here comes Hartz now out of turn 4. 15 laps to go. And battles on the racetrack have essentially fizzled. There's a few that still could reignite. Beckner and Anasogak for 4th is the one that I've got my eye on.
Sorry, I just had to step through.
I was sneezing, so we're fine.
Oh, okay. I heard someone say something on the radio. It sounded like one driver was smack talking another. I was like, oh, I got to hear that. and it turned out to be nothing.
Well, that's no fun. Where's the drama?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Give me some drama. It's trucks racing at Homestead. Let's crash each
had
other.
a little bit.
I'm
yeah,
just
I haven't had a whole lot of wrecks to cause the drama. Actually, do we go to a short track? I haven't checked the schedule.
On the schedule, well, it's a good time to run through it. Playoff schedule is Homestead this week, Charlotte Roval next, then Martinsville, round 15. That's a fun one. Michigan and Las Vegas to finish out the year.
Yeah, that's where we're going to see some tempers flying.
Yeah, Martinsville with trucks. Oh, boy.
I do say I kind of wish, because they do have eliminations in these playoffs. So after Charlotte Roval is going to be top 8, then after Michigan's going to be the final 4. But I was kind of hoping they would put Martinsville at the end just so you could see you guys try to take each other out for those final few spots. But we might see it anyway.
I'm curious about the area Elite Entertainment Cup Series, because the new damage model means that you can get pretty physical with those cars.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And I think the patience level is going to end before the cars do, and that could turn into something very entertaining for sure. Beautiful sunset here just off the coast of Southeast Florida. And we're getting down to the very end of this race. We're not quite going to see full night. Only 12 laps remaining. But it has been largely a race determined by the initial strategy call all the way back at lap 15. So this really exemplifies that every decision that you make on the racetrack, I don't care if it's lap 2 or lap 102, every decision that you make has the potential to influence the outcome of your race. And you don't get freebies, right? I mean, sometimes you get away with one, but you can't count on that, especially if you're in the playoffs. Like I said, was that a safe call for Brad Slaughter Jr. and Fambro and others? I don't think so. I think I would have gone with the safer side of that decision, which was do what everyone else is doing, but I think that's lesson learned in round 1.
I mean, he does have a bit of a points lead that he can kind of shave off, but like we've been talking about, you don't want to rest on that.
No,
you never know, it might bite you from behind. So
and why burn it up?
Lose some points.
And why burn up that points lead on something that you could control? Why not save that for Martinsville when you get taken out on lap 115? And that's the mulligan that you want to have, not something that was self-inflicted that you could have avoided.
Yeah, I think looking at the different points differential between Slaughter and Hearts, I think it's about, 26? So it's going to be cut effectively in half, I think, after tonight. So about maybe 13-point separation between Hearts and Slaughter, again, as it continues, as they continue out on the track.
And otherwise, battles, how about for 5th place? And a Sogak and Robertson. In the 6th place, number 64. It was just a couple hundredths of a second gain for Robertson the last few laps. He might run out of time, but he's closing in. And a good day for him regardless, 21st to 6th. Not a bad afternoon.
Yeah, no, not bad at all. Definitely one of the better ones. I mean, again, like we said, these kind of guys are really mostly fighting for race wins, but top 5 is definitely nothing to sneeze at. And he's still trying to fight for that top 5 because Anasogak is fighting up ahead of him for that spot, just 0.3 up the road.
1.9 second lead is what Ryan Hartz has. 8 laps remain here at Homestead, Miami. Shane Wolf, Hearn, Beckner, and Asogak, your top 5. Then Robertson, Litzenberger, Swerve and Irvin, Tyler Hallman, Brad Slaughter Jr., the rest of the top 10. And there are only 11 cars on the lead lap, and Fambro is the last driver on the lead lap. And opportunity for a caution and a late race reset is still there, but I'd say highly unlikely given how everyone is so spread out at this stage. And that means that Brad Slaughter Jr. and Hallman and Irvin and more, the chance for them to get a top 5 slipping through their fingers.
Unless someone's arm is itchy. That's always a factor.
Itchy
just because we do have especially because we do have quite a few multi-car teams, so you never know. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just saying you never know.
Been a solid race. Lots of action at the start, and I think that's one of the disappointing things about not having the yellow is that the restart after that, the racing was amazing for a handful of laps, and once the pit stops happened, it kind of shredded apart those fights and those battles amongst themselves.
Whoa! So. Travis Beckner, he's flying loose off the corner because he's trying to catch Cameron Hearn. Hearn's been falling more and more off the pace. Beckner's looking pretty good. Yeah, this is him trying to catch back up. It's him a little bit of a drift. Man, that camera angle does not do that justice.
Yeah, he was really sawing at the wheel to keep it straight, but that's what drivers are. I mean, you get see it again on turn 2.
Whoa, hang on.
Yeah, you just get comfortable just kind of driving out of it. You have to.
Yeah, you can see that there's that 3rd place right ahead of him within his grasp. So that's to make sure he doesn't go spinning out of control.
Yeah, there's a fine line, right? Because if you're just offline and you get back in throttle and you have to drive it to not crash, but if you want to keep it very solid and stuck to the ground, you have to be later to the throttle, and those are critical moments that you need to have power.
Oh, hello. Big shake from Hearn off of turn 2.
And Hearn, with all the dominance that he had in the middle portion of this race, leading 46 laps, the chance for him to win this race is going out the window, which is a shame, but you can't win them all. He led almost a quarter of the race, actually, almost half the race by some metrics. Here comes Beckner up the outside, going to try to rim ride this Larson line.
Oh, there he goes. There's a big run.
Yeah, that'll do it. To the bottom in turn 3. Here comes the battle for 3rd. Beckner to the bottom of Hearn. And just like that, it's done.
Oh, not done yet. Here comes Hearn with the switchback. To the inside he goes.
3 laps left, and the battle for 3rd is still on. Hearn on the outside, or inside rather. Beckner on the outside. Might have the preferred line at this stage, though, because he'll just have this great run out of turn 2, but Hearn's going to re-clear him.
It doesn't potentially get ugly, though, if neither one wants to give as it comes down to the closing laps. They're fighting for a really solid finishing position.
Brad Slaughter's rooting for that. So is Hallman and Irvin and more. But it's not going to happen, I don't think. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, you never know how much these guys are willing to bet. Beckner not giving up, still looking to the inside.
That was a little close. That was really close. Whoa, they slammed doors in turn 1. They're still grinding doors along each other there.
Oh, this may get ugly.
Well, I think
half left to go.
Yeah, I think Hearn got enough of a clearance there, unless 28 catches him in 3 and 4. Ryan Hart should be all free and clear to make it back to the stripe for the white flag.
He just wants to see it. He just wants to see the white flag at this point.
So out of turn 4, white flag waves, and Hart's is past it, which means that these two can tangle with each other all they want at this point.
Oh, and tangle they may. Here we go. Big dive setting up from Beckner into turn 1. Is he going to give the 67 any space? Will the 67 give any space?
Turn 2, going to be a drag race down the backstretch between these two. Outside is the 67, inside is the 28. While these two battle out of turn 4, Ryan Hart's a last run pass outlasts the best of the rest. Checkered flag. Ryan Hart's gets it done at Homestead for second place. Shane Wolf for third. Ooh. Beckner and Hearn tangling this time, but Beckner's going to grab it away.
Oh, Hearn's out of gas.
Oh, well, that doesn't help.
Oh, wow, he lost to Anasogak. He lost 4th place to him at the line.
Oh.
Like 25 thousandths of a second.
Let's ride on board with him and listen to what that last 40 seconds of the race or something was like. See the 28 to the inside. Still has Ninja Power here in 3.
Yeah, he came back to him, was trying to fight this inside lane.
Oh, right there.
And then now she goes.
And here comes Anasogak and got him by 25 thousandths of a second. That is unfortunate for Hearn, but 5th place, not a bad day regardless, as Ryan Hart's comes to celebrate. And it was that pass late in the going that did it. 36 laps led. The final 19 was all it took. This will add to Ryan Hart's 3-win total this year. He will now have the most wins of anybody this season. Previously, he was tied with Brad Slaughter Jr., so his 4th win on the year. Actually, he was also tied with Cameron Hearn, so this will put Hart's ahead of the crowd there just a little bit. Here's a look at your race results. 3-car, the 31, the 28, the 19, the 67, all top 5 are playoff competitors. The 64, 12, 9, 42, and 81, the rest of your top 10. Brad Slaughter Jr. did eke out a top 10, but as we mentioned previously, going to lose a little bit of ground on those that he had before.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things because he knows deep down that could have been a better night. He could have had a top 5 truck potentially, but unfortunately he's going to have to settle for 10th with the way the strategy pulled out. But I mean, he made the best of what he was dealt with. It could have been a lot worse. Again, but I think we're just hoping for the caution that unfortunately never came.
And the rest of the order here, Colin Fambro 11th, and a couple playoff competitors, Jacob Bell, Hunter Collier down the order, and that's going to be a bad day for those 3 drivers all outside. Well, like maybe not so bad for Fambro, but for Collier and Bell, and Garrett Grant with that big impact early. He's got some work to do next week.
Yeah, I got some guys digging out a hole. I mean, we don't have that much time because at the end of the next race, we're going to be taking out 4 competitors from this playoff, so they don't have a whole lot of time to make up for their mistakes. So it's going to be very interesting going into the next race.
Yeah, we got a couple drivers to chat with, the first of which will be Travis Beckner here in just a moment as we go through our post-race production here on Sim TV. Again, thanks for joining us for the first round of the playoffs. Not quite done yet, but we'll get interviews done and we'll move on to next week. First up will be Travis Beckner, 3rd place finisher tonight in the number 28. Travis, congratulations. 3rd place, not bad. A great battle there to the end with Cameron Hearn. Eked it out and grabbed yourself a podium in a top 5. You have to feel really solid about that evening.
Yeah, that was the best speedway race I've ever had. Well, mile and a half. That was a really fun race with Cameron there at the end. I just hope I could get it done on Thursday night as well.
Yeah, looking back at the race and how it progressed, you started 8th and just kind of kept it inside the top 10 all night long. When it came to that first caution at lap 15, there was a little bit of split strategy there. Some drivers took tires, some drivers did not. Why did you do the decision that you made? It seemed like the others that didn't take tires kind of ended up way down the order.
because all my teammates in the chat, Cameron, James, a few other people, they're like, we're gonna pit. We think it's gonna be a better strategy. So I just brought it down with them, and it ended up working out. And then Cameron got up in the wall or later on in the race, and he just fell off.
Well, it worked out for you. Third place tonight. We look ahead on the schedule, though, and for a lot of drivers, they'll circle the Charlotte Roval as a place that they're not excited about going to. Is it that track for you, or are you excited about road racing next week?
Oh, I'm really excited about road racing. I won earlier this year at COTA, and I just can't wait for it.
Well, that's a good reason to be excited about it. Hey, Travis, congratulations. Strong run, and we'll see you next week at Charlotte.
Thank you.
Move on now to our second place finisher, James Shane Wolf, who came home in second, was leading for much of the final run, but it didn't quite work out. The 31 Elite Entertainment car comes home P2. James, not a bad night, certainly, but I think you would have liked to have grabbed that victory, huh?
Yeah, it was a lot better night than last night. I just didn't have enough fuel. I had to save too much there at the end of the run. I wanted to save at the beginning, but my fuel was bouncing back and forth to whether or not I was going to be good. And it was like right on the borderline of being good, so I just drove it out and then had to save late in the run, which really hurt me, not having the tires or anything to be able to make runs on people and stuff like that, which ultimately let Hearts catch me and pass me.
Well, as you look forward in the rest of the season in the series, you came into the night 6th in the standings. And so far this season, it's been a pretty solid one for you. But in terms of wins, you have to go all the way back to Daytona. As we cycle on to the Charlotte Roval next week, do you think you can get another one on the road course?
Oh, yeah. Road course, I'd like to think I'm pretty good at them. For the most part, I know I money shifted at COTA, so I couldn't really be a contender there. But I won Watkins Glen last year in this series, so hopefully that'll kind of correlate in with the Roval and kind of help us out. But yeah, man, hoping to have a good playoff run. You know, a win would have been nice there to solidify me into the next round, but just hopefully tonight was a good enough run to create a big enough points buffer to where I can just go there and have a halfway decent night.
Well, a great night tonight for sure. Charlotte Roval next week. James, congratulations. A P2 this evening. Not quite a win, but a solid top 5 and a good points night. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming on board as well, man.
Sure.
It's awesome.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yep.
Ryan Hartz, our race winner tonight, led the final 19 laps and an additional amount of laps to lead a total of about 36. Ryan, you came home with the win, that late run pass, and led the final 20 or so. Congratulations, first of all. And second of all, this is a great start to your playoffs.
Hello, new broadcast team.
Hello.
How you doing?
We're living the dream. How about you?
Amazing after that run. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it looked good. I mean, you led 36 laps, and you had some scrapping here and there and up front and all around, and you now have the most wins of anybody in the season. 4 wins, more now than Cameron Hearn, as well as Brad Slaughter Jr., the points leader coming into the night. So you have to feel pretty confident about this. In terms of the playoffs, so the Roval, Martinsville, Michigan, any of those places you have circled, you worried about, or do you feel pretty good about everything after tonight?
Well, thankfully, I don't have to worry about the Roval. I'm not really a good road course racer. I don't really specialize myself in that, but I was just thinking to myself, I gotta perform good tonight. I gotta hit the ground running because I knew I wasn't gonna do good at the Roval. I didn't really do good at COTA when a few weeks back. So yeah, luckily we got the win tonight and we're on to the next round. Don't even have to worry about it. As far as Martinsville is just gonna be chaotic. I really, really like Martinsville, but is always going to have their fair share of wrecks, so I got to keep it clean there, and Michigan's probably going to be sort of a plate track. So yeah, that's going to be a wild round, but luckily we got to focus forward toward it.
Well, Ryan, a great night for you tonight, your 4th win on the season. Best luck to you next week, and we'll see you there.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. All right, Finney, that wraps up the interviews here, and Ryan Hartz gets his 4th win on the year. Great racing all around. A lot of long runs there, which is great to see. But the Charlotte Roval next week, that's, again, we've seen it time and time again. There's a lot of drivers that are excited for it, and then they go there, and it doesn't end up being what they expected. A lot of attrition at the Charlotte Roval, so that should be a fun one next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really going to show you heard Hartz talk about it. He doesn't particularly call himself a road course driver. We will find out who is an actual road course driver, because the Charlotte Roval will definitely kick your behind if you're not that proficient in road course racing, because it's effectively a street course because the walls are up and close. It's very easy to make mistakes, a lot of heavy braking zones. You can overshoot and find yourself on a wall. So we'll see who does well and who doesn't do well, because that could very much decide the playoff picture.
Well, playoffs have begun here in the Area CNC Login Truck Series. We'll see you next week from the Charlotte Roval, turning left and right. The big tall curbs, the blue and red paint. We'll see you next time for round 2 of the Area CNC Login Truck Series playoffs. Kyle Heyer and Fidine DeCuna. We'll see you next week.